Another episode of Post-Fades Cheesesteaks. This is our 2021 NFL season preview. Got myself, Dakota, and Nick is back again. Happy to have you.
Definitely happy to be back. Always happy, consistent listener. Love to jump on the pod, talk sports.
Love to hear. Tim will not be joining us. We don't know the details, but someone shit something. So regardless, the show goes on. So we'll be breaking down each division one by one, going through who are surprise teams we think might not do so hot this year, and then ultimately who makes playoffs and who wins the Super Bowl. So without further ado, let's start in the AFC. So Nick, who do you have winning the AFC North?
The AFC North. So this division, I think you see one team take I'll consider it a pretty big nosedive. I think this division has one team that's trending in the very wrong direction. And I think if there's one team that I got finishing on top, I don't know if I ever thought I would say this, but I got the Cleveland Browns winning the AFC North at a record of 14-3.
What?
14-3. Cleveland, 14-3.
Damn.
They got the Ravens coming in second. Close. 13-4. Strong year.
Okay.
Pittsburgh, 7-10.
All right.
And Cincinnati finishing 5-12. Ultimately, I think this Cleveland Browns team, I don't think I totally understood how complete their team was until the NFL draft.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at them, I'm like, which way do they go? Do they get what position? Every time before the draft, I kind of think you're not really technically supposed to really draft too much for need. I think teams get into trouble when they do that and they reach on players.
For sure.
But it's natural to look for okay, what are some spots? Top to bottom, very, very complete team. The way they finished last year, just really finished strong. Big wins against Pittsburgh. That they could have two of the top 10 running backs in the NFL. It's just a well-constructed team. I think they finally all know their identity and who they are.
Right.
I think they're comfortable in those roles. So, and looking at their schedule, they have a very, very winnable schedule. That they have.
Yeah, they do have a pretty cakewalk schedule.
Yeah. So, at the end, when I came down, I went through and they ended up with 14 wins. And honestly, after the way they looked at the end of the season, I'm not surprised. They were really trending up for me personally. I was really impressed by them. Top 5 line, 2 top 10 running backs. Odell Beckham's got a lot to prove this year.
Mm-hmm.
Jarvis Landry's as consistent gets. Odell and Jarvis had the most catches for the first 3 years in the NFL in the exact same amount of catches.
Yeah.
So they're guys who just they got it. I love their defense. That defense. Myles Garrett. My God, that defensive line. I think this is going to be.
They got Clowney too.
Yeah, I just think that Cleveland. This is a big year for them. I think this is a year they make a lot of noise, and I'm a big Brown supporter this year.
Yeah, I'm in the very much the same boat. I have Cleveland winning division as well. Not as many wins, but I have 12-5, which is tied for the second best record in the league in my standings, which is pretty low.
Wow.
Yeah, very competitive. I think this season is going to end up being a pretty back and forth for a lot of teams. I only really had one team. Actually, let me double check that. I think I might have lied. All right, so third best record. There's really only one team I had really run away with it. But I had Cleveland 12-5, 4-2 in the division, win the division. I had Baltimore at 10-6. Okay. I had the Steelers at 9-7.
Wait. Baltimore can't be 10-6 for 17 games.
You're right.
You didn't check to make sure all the records added up to 17, did you?
Oh no. What did I do? All right. Well, 11-6 or because I'm assuming, let me see. So it looks like Steelers are 9-7, so I'm head to head with them that I didn't close off.
Probably missed that then.
Let me I'll run that back real quick. But then I had Cincinnati 11-6. Is that correct? That might be off too. Wait a minute. Hold up.
11-6 is 17 wins. 17 games.
17 games. All right, so that one's fine. But yeah, so I mean, regardless, I had the Ravens coming in second, Steelers coming in third, and I'm like, Steelers are a hard team to figure out because offensively, it's like their line's okay, their receiving core is good, running backs. I mean, you have Najee Harris, but beyond that, it's kind of a question mark, and you don't really know what you're going to get with Big Ben. The defense, I think, will be good. But again, that's in this day and age, the defense can really only take you so far. You have to have a somewhat capable offense. So,
I'm completely out on, honestly, Pittsburgh. I'm completely out on Big Ben. As far as I'm concerned, he's just holding that team hostage because of the past Super Bowl success. He should not be that He should not be that quarterback. He should have been out years ago. But he won for that city. They're sticking with him. They're giving him that extra time. It's kind of like that last Kobe contract where it's like, dude, you do not deserve $25 million a year, but thanks for all the championships. Because honestly, I think if you put a competent quarterback, a league average, so the 16th best quarterback in the NFL, if you put them into that offense, I think that offense would put up fantastic numbers. They have a ton of pass catchers. I have a very high expectation for Najee Harris. The line's still suspect, but I think you can do enough with all those other weapons. I think Big Ben, honestly, is going to finish as a bottom 5 starting quarterback. I just don't. And it's not going to come down to he won't have the yards. He'll have the yards because of the explosion from the receivers, but the eye test, I guarantee you the eye test will tell you he's going to be a lower end quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, so updated. So now I have the Ravens. It was the last game I had a head-to-head. Ravens I have 11-6, and Steelers I have 9-8. So Ravens I had going 5-1 in the division. So,
wow.
But all right, moving on to the AFC South. We'll just flip flop back and forth. So I'll go first. I had Titans winning the division at 9-8. I had the Colts coming in second at 8-9. I think because I mean, as far as I know, Wentz still isn't going to be ready yet, and I think there will be a little bit of growing pains. So I don't think this will be their year. I think they might have a little bit of a down year compared to where a lot of people are having them finish. I have the Jags getting 6 wins, 6-11. I think they'll be kind of similar to how they were last year, because last year they weren't a good team, but they were competitive. Like they were, making people fight for those victories over them. They weren't just laying down and taking the beating. I think that'll kind of, I'm curious to see how well Trevor Lawrence plays in the league, but I think 6-11 for them. And then Houston finishes one of my worst teams at 2-15. So they are, to say they're a train wreck is an understatement, but who you got?
So I have the same order, but different records. So I got Tennessee winning the division also. I have them at 13-4. I really like the Titans. I'm very high on the Titans.
Okay.
I don't see Derrick Henry slowing down. Maybe not 2000 again. 2000 was pretty impressive. But I think he's going to have another bruiser year. I think the addition of Julio is really going to help out A.J. Brown. I think A.J. Brown's also just going to take his own step forward because you don't come into the league with his type of body and not have a ridiculous work ethic.
Yeah.
To look like that by the age of 21, you're a dude who just trains. Like you're a dude who puts in that work. And I think he's probably continuously doing that. And, after having such a phenomenal year last year, I think that only makes him more hungry. Mm-hmm. We already know how I feel about Ryan Tannehill. I think he's a really solid quarterback.
Yeah.
It's a great offensive line. So I think they have a great season. I have the Colts stronger than you though, mostly because of the schedule they play. Mm-hmm. I think they got a lot of cupcakes. I don't think they're going to be a strong 12-5, but I think their schedule leads them to be a 12-5 team.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, if I remember correctly, the Titans actually didn't have like the easiest schedule because I also had them going 5-1 in their division. So that means they only won 4 games outside of their division. So at least in my record. So
sure. Yeah. Then I got Jacksonville coming in third in that division of 5-12.
Okay.
I agree with what you said with they showed a lot of heart last year. It's obviously a big blow to lose ETN, not because of having some sort of like playoff hope, but I think the entire point of drafting Lawrence and ETN was to continue that chemistry and to give him somebody next to him in the backfield that he's felt so comfortable with during his rookie year.
Right.
So it's like the entire point of you taking him, you know, whereas some people felt like that was a reach, is now gone. So kind of sort of a time where that sort of blew up in your face, but they got a ton of receivers. I mean, every fantasy draft I had, I was like, wow, they got like 3 guys who could be legit fantasy options.
I mean, Chark, Chenault, and Marvin Jones. They're legit.
Yes.
And James Robinson's good as a running back. So.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they're going to be solid. For them, 5 wins would be pretty significant from where they've been. So
yeah.
And rounding it out, I mean, Houston, I got 1-16. I don't know that there's a worse run organization in sports.
Yeah.
But between giving up multiple top 5 picks for Laramie Tunsil, completely blowing up a team that had, you know, future Hall of Famers on it with J.J. Watt, DeAndre Hopkins, the whole handling of this Deshaun Watson situation, just all of it top to bottom. Just the organization's a train wreck.
Yeah.
I think they get a pity win. Honestly, I just had a hard time seeing a team go 0-17. But if they go 0-17, I will not be shocked one bit.
I feel like in this day and age, it's harder to not win a game than it is to go 0-6. Like you have to be abysmal to not win a single game. But I mean, they're pretty close to that. Forgot to recap Tim's picks for the last division, but for this one he had Titans winning at 13-4. So nice. Like you said. Kind of surprising. He had the Jags at 7-10 in second, and then the Colts at 7-10 in third. So I guess
wow.
Competition going on there. And then he had the Texans at 0-17.
17. Yeah. So, I almost did. I almost had the same thing.
Yeah. And then for the AFC North, he had Ravens and Browns 11-6, but the Ravens getting the slight nod for the division. He had Steelers 10-7 and Bengals 4-13.
Okay.
So, not bad. So who you got in the AFC East? Starting off with that division.
So the AFC. Wow, the first time we actually got to talk about the AFC East with not an obvious number one. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
So the AFC East for me is the exact same thing as the AFC South. I have 2 teams who are going to have really strong years. I have 2 teams who are going to have really poor years.
Interesting.
I feel very strongly about both of these divisions. Buffalo, I have winning the division at 13-4. I want to believe that Josh Allen was not a fluke last year, that he's going to continue to be highly successful with Stephon Diggs, and they brought in Emmanuel Sanders and just continue. I think that what they've got going on there is they've been waiting for decades to finally be relevant. And I think this is the moment they seize it. I got New England at 11-6, mostly because of the defense, mostly because all their opt-outs last year, all the guys coming back. I think that you're going to see a similar, not totally similar play style, because I think this gets overused, but more of what Tom Brady had to do early in his career. Not asked to do too much, make a couple throws a game, just be smart. Don't turn the ball over, be confident with the ball, deliver when you have to. Right. I think you're gonna see a lot of games where he's between 22 and 25 pass attempts, nothing crazy. A lot of tight end seams, a lot of out routes, a lot of bubble screens. He's got a good arm, but I think they're going to try to get him that confidence, and I don't think he has to do too much. So I think with their defense, with Belichick, a year at 11-6 would be good for them. Then I got Miami coming in third place in that division at 4-13. I do not like Tua. I don't see it. I think he was a great college quarterback.
Yeah.
Everything I heard out of camp was negative. They clearly seemed not too committed to him last year. They were willing to pull him for Fitzmagic, like in the middle of games pretty often, in a way that you don't often see teams do with young quarterbacks. Not that I'm always against it, because I think there's been times where rookie quarterbacks have gotten too much leash.
Yeah.
But I think that with the way the Dolphins handled Tua, it just made me feel like they were also second guessing him a little bit. And he just hasn't showed me anything that really blows me away. I do like the receiving core. I think they have a couple good receivers. But I'm not high on Myles Gaskin, and that defense really doesn't do anything for me, honestly.
I think that's fair. I mean, I've told you this many times. I was super high on Tua coming out of the draft. And I don't know if it's coaching or if it's his transition, but yeah, he's just not there. And it's really unfortunate because I thought he was really going to be a significant quarterback to come into this league, be the next, big guy. But so my rankings, I have.
We're just gonna skip over my team in fourth.
What's up?
We're just gonna skip over my last place team.
I mean, they're pretty irrelevant, but go ahead.
So I'm gonna give you a little sneak preview with this answer.
Okay.
I have both New York teams with the same exact record, and I have the New York Jets at 2-15.
Wow.
I have
no
faith in Zach Wilson this year.
The entire state of New York is a dumpster fire.
The entire state of New York is currently, and really it's New Jersey, but it is current. I don't like anything about the Jets. I don't like the quarterback situation.
Yep, I agree.
I don't like the receiver situation. I think they overpaid for a guy who was
100%.
very underwhelming. And now that he's supposed to come be the guy,
100%.
their running back rotation. You're hoping that a fourth round undersized Michael Carter emerges.
I was gonna say, I don't even know who their running back is. Like their starting running back.
Well, he split. He had 1,000-yard season with Javonte Williams at UNC last year, but
that's college.
But it's not Najee Harris coming in. You got a guy in the fourth round, and his competition is like LaMichael P. Ryan and Tevin Coleman, and it's just And then we've seen the defense. The defense has just been getting abused for I don't know how many years. So I have no faith. I have no faith in them. Maybe Zach Wilson can become something. But I'm happy to finally get an opportunity to see if Sam Darnold was ever as bad as he actually is, or if the team was just that bad. Because not that I want to skip ahead, but I'm interested to see now that Sam actually has some weapons, and maybe not the Panthers as a whole. This new team am I the highest on? But God, this Jets team is barren. It is a barren team.
Yeah. I'm going to start my order from backwards. So I'll start with the worst team in the AFC East, the New York Jets. I'm actually I agree with everything you said, but I'm actually going to enforce it a little more. I have them going 1-16 and being the number one draft pick for the 2022 draft. I didn't like Zach Wilson coming out of the draft or before the draft. I didn't like him coming out of the draft. He just reeks of bust to me. Now, I'm not wishing for him to fail by any means, but I don't get any good positive vibes from him as a starting caliber quarterback in this league. And not to mention, like you said, really nothing to support him with, like very middle of the road, mediocre skill players. Like Corey Davis had a nice season, but he's arguably a bust as a first round receiver. Like he did not deliver. Yeah. He didn't really start doing anything until he had, AJ Brown calling for double teams, So, I have them 1-16. Dolphins, a little generous at 9-8.
Wow. 9-8 for Miami.
Yeah, I think Tua will be able to have a solid campaign. I think he'll be able to put some pieces together, but he'll also show some issues that he's having. But he'll do enough to get a couple wins, and then I think Miami's defense is kind of underrated right now. I think they'll have a really nice year, and I think they'll help get some of those wins, in the end of games. Same boat as you with the Patriots. I have them at 10-7. Okay. I think they'll improve. Last year, you'll see. I think Cam also came into the situation like not fully integrated in that offense, so they were kind of just like going game by game. I think now that they have a solidified, this is our guy. I think Jones he'll have some growing pains, but I think for the most part he'll be fine. And then I think, like you said, the defense will rebound with all the players coming back off, holding out from COVID. And then I have the Bills at 12-5, winning the division. I really am, hoping they do well again this year. I like the Bills. I want to root for them. I don't think Josh Allen will have as good as a year as he did last year, but I think he'll have another really good year. I think him and Stephon Diggs will continue to be this electric tandem. I'm still a little worried about their running backs, but they have enough good receivers around them, and they brought in Emmanuel Sanders, who's pretty long in the tooth at this point, but they'll still give you some good possessions here and there. And they have a good defense too. So Tim had the Bills at a strong 15-2.
Wow.
Which
very high.
Which looks like to me the number one seed in his ranking in the AFC, wow. Which is kind of nuts. He had the Patriots at 9-8, Dolphins at 7-2, and then the Jets, he was pretty generous, 4-13. So
Jets 4 wins, wow.
But then going into our last division in the AFC, the AFC West, I have my number one seed in all of football, the Kansas City Chiefs, going 15-2. Okay. I think for a team that's perennial Super Bowl contenders and been in the Super Bowl the last 2 years, they probably have the best team that they've had, which is nuts to think. So I think they'll be just fine. I actually had them going, I believe it was 9-0, but then losing to the Raiders, which I predicted last year, and that came true. So I'm going to stick to my guns there. Then I in second place in that division, I have the Chargers at 9-8. I think they'll be good. I don't think the thing with the Chargers is they always please to disappoint. So it's like a very temperamental 9-8, where I think it could also be 8-9 and they miss the playoffs. But we'll see. The Broncos are part of my only tie in the entire standings, because wow. I feel like we have a tie every year. So I threw one in there. Broncos went 8-1. I feel like that's pretty optimistic.
Exactly 500.
Yeah. I think the way I looked at it is Teddy Bridgewater. He played well for the Panthers, but he didn't play well enough to win them games. And I think the Broncos, from a pure talent aspect, are a lot superior than that Panthers team he played on. So I think that'll bump up a couple more wins. I think the Broncos defense, if they stay healthy, can be pretty reliable. And I really like their skill set of players with, Cortland Sutton, I'm now blanking on Jerry Jeudy, and then Noah Fant. So we'll see. And then I have Raiders. Honestly, I kind of wanted to let the Raiders have a good season, but they're so confusing of a team. So I had them finishing 7-10 in last place.
So, I mean, I think the obvious, Kansas City. I mean, this is I think this is the about the easiest division winner you're gonna find.
Yeah.
I haven't finished at 16-1. I think coming out that Super Bowl loss, they're gonna come back hungry. I think they finally have a reason to really be hungry and to get up for a season again. And
for sure,
I see them just going on an absolute tear, having a bump in the road somewhere, which is natural. It'll be to a team they're better than, but they'll have an off week, which happens. So I gotta say, I went back and forth with a lot of picks on this 2 slot. I'm obviously going to have a little bit of bias here because every fan sees the potential of their team. That's just the way the fans are.
Absolutely.
I'm a well-documented Denver Bronco fan.
Mm-hmm.
And when I think of the depth that they have at skill position with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Noah Fant,
Him too, yeah.
Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. You bring in easily the third best running back in the draft. Big tier break after him.
Mm-hmm.
You have all them. Garrett Bowles took a monster step forward that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, he was
offensive line's really. Yeah. Oh, he was a huge bust.
Yeah.
Just which absolutely was major. I think they don't. While I think if all of a sudden Aaron Rodgers ends up on this team next year, we can be talking about Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
I think that there's enough on that offense that if Teddy can just not lose them games, they have enough skill guys can make home run. Not many teams have many home run hitters as the Denver Broncos offense does. And then on defense, they are loaded.
Yeah.
They have how many teams have 5 cornerbacks? I mean, my God, Ronald Darby, Michael O, Pat Surtain. Like the list just keeps going on. They have multiple cornerbacks. I mean, freaking Simmons as safety is.
Simmons and Kareem Jackson is arguably one of the top, safety tandems.
Oh, so I mean,
you still got Chubb and Von Miller too.
yeah, and then you got consistent big leg kicker in McManus. They're just a team that I would have liked to obviously see an upgrade from Drew Lock and Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah,
but that's why you're going to be about a 500 team. They're a roster that could be a 12 or 13 win team with this really good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Bridgewater can do enough, and they have enough other special talent that could bring them 9-8. But I don't want to. I know I'm monopolizing too much time as a Bronco fan. Chargers, I got them at 7-10.
Okay.
I like Herbert. I like the bringing in Lindsley. I think he'll have a good year. But I'm just not entirely sold on the team. I hope I get to see a full season of Derwin James. Man, I love to watch that guy play football, but he cannot stay healthy.
Nope.
He's one more injury away from not getting another contract.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know
That's what we were saying in the safety episode. It was just like, this is like, you hate to say make or break, but like if he gets hurt again, not only is his future as a securing a contract going to be in jeopardy, but like his future of playing in general. Like you can't keep getting hurt this young.
No, which is sad because he is an absolute baller. When he's healthy, man, he's a difference maker. But he might be playing on 1-year small deals the rest of his career if he gets hurt again.
Yeah, I can see that.
Which is sad. And then I got the Raiders. I think the Raiders have been stretched at the seams. They've been disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very expensive stadium. Big move. I think they're going to have a very disappointing 4-13 season, and this is getting blown up. I'm telling you, by the end of the year, we're going to see Mayock fired, Derek Carr moved on from there. This is going to be a whole. They already tried to get Khalil Mack back. Like, talk about we know we messed up. They made calls to the Bears to get back an asset they had. Like, are you kidding me? Like, not like not a free agent pitch. Like, come back here. Like, they tried to trade back for a guy they traded away. They're a dumpster fire. They're not as bad as the Texans, but with all the missed picks they've had, we were talking about it earlier, but before the 2020 draft, Mike Mayock said we have 3 third-round picks. That's got to be 3 long-time starters. And 2 of those 3 guys never played a single snap.
Yeah.
For the Las Vegas Raiders. So that team has been bad. They need a completely new identity. They need something. They need some new juice in that organization. I have them performing very poorly this year.
Yeah, they're definitely not in a good spot right now. But I think it's funny as you were describing the Broncos situation, it started to like put the puzzle piece together, and I'm like, they're kind of like the same boat as the Eagles right now, where it's like there's talent in places, and it's just a matter of like the quarterback situation going in the positive, So I don't know. It's some of these teams are just so hard to guess, but
you just got to change the Eagles' depth from cornerback to D-line.
True. Tim's rankings are a little interesting. So, I mean, he had the Chiefs at 13-4, obviously number 1 in that division. Mm-hmm. Then he had the Raiders at 8-9. I guess he's a little more.
Okay.
This unfolds pretty humorous to me because Tim hates Derek Carr and he loves Justin Herbert, but he has the Chargers finishing at 5-12 and at the worst in
Really?
that division, and then the Broncos at 6-11 and third. So I was a little surprised by that.
He made quite a fight against me on Justin
Yeah,
Herbert. And he
I
hasn't
know.
won that many games.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Okay.
He's an interesting one. All right, moving on. So that breaks down the AFC. Do you want to save the playoff teams for when we're done the NFC, or do you want to announce who your playoff teams are? All right, we'll wait then. So who you got?
Yeah, I feel like it's a more natural transition if we just do all the regular season stuff first.
Fair enough. Who do you got in the NFC North?
Oh, this is quick look. Yep, this is my most lopsided division. I have
this
one
is pretty
star
bad for me too. Yeah,
I have 1 star and 3 dog mess teams. So I got Green Bay Packers winning the North at 13-4.
Oh, I like that.
I think Aaron Rodgers has another really strong year. I think Devontae, as a sort of last stand situation. Let's have one more good run. I think Devontae Adams has already been very vocal. He expects to be the highest paid receiver in the NFL. I'm not sure if Green Bay is going to take the approach of, hey, we're losing Aaron, we have to keep Devontae, or if they just blow this thing up and go brand new. So
no one knows what they do there.
We'll see after this year, but I think they have at least a 13-win season in them this year, and then it gets ugly fast. I have the Minnesota Vikings finishing at 5-12. I have no faith. No faith. I think they've been teetering on decent longer than they should have been. I think they've overachieved more years, and I think this is a year they regress back to what that team actually is, or even underachieve a little bit. Dalvin Cook can have his good year. Dalvin Cook can have his yards. Justin Jefferson can have his yards. I think Adam Thielen is getting over his peak, coming down a little more back down to reality.
Sure.
From being such a stud as an undrafted, free agent. Chicago, 5-12. I think Fields is going to get his chance, and I think he'll have some good numbers. I think Allen Robinson's going to have his swan song. He's going to have a really good year, and then he's going to leave after this franchise tag is gone. Don't really like the rest of the roster. I like Mooney as a young up and coming player, and I like Montgomery, but not enough to do much, honestly. And at the bottom, still the team I have to watch get killed on Thanksgiving every year, the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Turkeys.
2-15. I just,
jeez.
Jared Goff, I'm sorry. I just don't see it. I don't, and I feel bad for DeAndre Swift, Philly boy. I wish he was in a better situation.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll get more touch. Well, actually, they brought in Jamal Williams, so that could sneakily.
Which is weird. They have tight end. They have a really strong tight end, and then their running backs are kind of sneaky nice, but the rest of the team is just
bad.
Not good.
It's bad. I mean, Jared Goff could be out of the NFL in the next 2 years.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely not. I mean, he was, blessed with a really good team on the Rams those few seasons. And then as the Rams took some hits, you saw how average he was. So, but our rankings are actually fairly similar, besides the Vikings. So I have the Packers also winning the division at 13-4.
Oh, good call.
6-0 in the division. It's a sweep.
Yeah.
I'm a little higher on the Vikings. I have them finishing 8-9. I think Cook, Jefferson, Thielen, Irv Smith's a nice, young tight end prospect. And I think, for as much shit as he gets, I think Kirk Cousins does a good enough job, and I'd argue he's a top 15 quarterback. So I think they'll do, they'll be fine on offense. And I think their defense actually got better over this past season. They have Patrick Peterson now, some other additions. They brought Hunter back, so hopefully he's arguably a top D end. So we'll see where they go. They did lose Anthony Harris and some linebackers, but I think they'll finish middle of the road. And then same boat as you. I think Justin Fields will have some highlight plays, and then he'll also have some top 10 duds. They'll finish 5-12. And the Lions fight for the number one seed in the number one pick in the draft, but they ultimately come in second, and but last in the NFC, 1-16.
Wow,
1-16. I don't know who I let them beat, but it was a give me, because I was like, I'm not letting them go winless. Tim had Green Bay at 12-5.
Chicago.
If he had Chicago, I would have stopped reading. I would just, all right, we're deleting this. Green Bay at 12-5. Chicago 8-9 is second.
Wow.
Pretty optimistic. Vikings at 7-10, and Detroit at 3-14. So
okay.
All right, moving on to the NFC South. I would assume you have the Buccaneers probably a little higher than I do. I mean, I still have them winning the division, but I have them 12-5. I think some teams come after them, and they have, you know, a little bit of trouble here and there. But I mean, they 5-1 in their division, second best record in the. Wait, let me double check. Second best record in the NFC. After that, I think the Saints are going to be that team that people are surprised by how mediocre they are this year. I'm not very high on the Saints now that Breeze is gone, and Breeze didn't even play that well last year. So I have them going 8-9. Then I have the Panthers, another team that's kind of, who knows. They have some nice young players in piece, but it's not really, they're not ready to compete yet. 6-11, and then I also have the Falcons in a weird kind of reconstructing the team, kind of still going with Matt Ryan and trying to win. So also 6-11, but they come in last. So
okay. So this was one of my stronger divisions last year.
Yeah, last year, yeah.
I had a lot of love in Tampa Bay and New Orleans last year.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much this year. So I think after week 8 last year, Tampa Bay looked the way we got used to seeing the Chiefs look.
Yeah.
And Tampa Bay, once Tom Brady locked in and that team got on the same page, after a new quarterback coming to a team with a COVID offseason and no preseason, they started to look almost the way it looks like when I watched the Alabamas play. And it looked unfair, and they just rolled through teams. And they did that all the way through the playoffs, and then all the way, you know, into their Super Bowl rings.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring back every single starter on your offense and defense with a team that already has no holes, a team that has top players in every single grouping, I have them, you know, I honestly had a hard time even finding a loss for them. I feel like I forced one I didn't even really believe in, just to throw an upset in, but I have them finished 16-1.
Damn.
I think, yeah, I'm riding this train very hard. I don't see how they get slowed down. They look at how they looked, and most teams, it's okay. We had to stop this guy. We lost that guy. The chemistry is going to be perfect. It's the same team running it back. It's like a high school team that wins a state championship with no seniors. Like, you're bringing back everybody. The chemistry's there. And the difference too with having a Tom Brady is Brady doesn't know how many of these are left. And those players don't know how many of these are left. So it's not like a Mahomes, where Mahomes, you're like, the next 10 years, I'm going to be, you know, oh, if we don't win this year, we got next year. No. The Buccaneers have urgency. The Buccaneers, I always say that repeating is one of the hardest things to do. Well, it helps when you have, you know, a quarterback who's already done it. But also just having that age factor on and knowing you might not have many of these left. I have them going 16-1 on an absolute tear. I have Atlanta going 7-10. I think that they lost way more games last year than they should have actually lost. And I don't see back-to-back years you losing that many games in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. You know, I think while Julio's a big loss for sure, I think Calvin Ridley never really knowing, am I the one this week? Am I the two this week? Matt Ryan not really knowing. I think this is actually going to be helpful for them. I think they'll still put up solid numbers. I got Carolina at 5-12. I like some of their offensive weapons. I'm not the biggest Sam Darnold fan. I've never been the biggest Sam Darnold fan. I think he'll do enough to be okay. I don't think anybody's gonna be calling for his job, but I really don't love the Panthers. And my biggest drop off from last year, New Orleans.
In last, wow.
New Orleans 4-13. I love their defense. I think New Orleans defense is very, very strong. And I'm impressed by the maturity that Jameis Winston has showed me. But
he's still Jameis Winston.
Right now, their wide receiver one is Traquan Smith. Their number two is Marquez Callaway. Yeah. And their star wide receiver waited until February to get a surgery that he's known he's needed. I'm sorry, it was later than February. That he's known he needed to get. He got in a fight with teammates last year. Michael Thomas has been, in every, even after he had that record-breaking year, everybody started calling him Slant Boy. And I swear it messed with his head so much because he's imploded.
Yeah.
Since then. Now he's on IR. He can't even come back until after week 6. I honestly think he's a detriment to this team at this point. And when he's not getting the ball the way, because Drew Brees can only throw the ball 5 yards anyways, he's not getting slants every throw because Jameis likes the deep ball. Yep. And if you're not running fades, Michael Thomas, you're useless to him. And I have no faith. I think the defense will be great. I love Alvin Kamara, but you'll lose me after. And they have a great line. I mean, fantastic offensive line. But when your quarterback is as questionable as that, when your wide receiver is your number one wide receiver is as toxic as he is, and the rest of your wide receiver core looks the way it does in this NFL, I can't get behind it. I really don't. The 4 wins I have been winning is honestly because of their defense. Interesting.
I thought I was going to be the harshest on the Saints, and then you came out of left field with that one, but I like it. I was just curious because I said I had the Buccaneers going 12-5, and it looks like I had a little bit of a revenge tour going on. So, so I had Washington beat them in week 10 after that close game they played.
Loss.
Yeah. I had Chicago because I remember Chicago beat them last year in a weird Nick Foles game. I had Chicago beating them again. It was just about I feel like this is how their season's going to go. They're just going to have these weird losses that don't make any sense. I had them lose week 3 to the Rams. I think that's just a matchup thing. And I'm trying to see where the other losses were. But I mean, I still I wouldn't be surprised if they finished 16-1. Oh, I had them get upset by the Eagles. Just a weird feeling I have.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's not even That's not even bias. I just happen to feel like that's
that's not a homer call at all. The Eagles, who some teams have winning 3 or 4 games, you have beating the defending world champion.
You have because that's how the season goes. I mean, there's obviously gonna be teams like the Chiefs who are win 14 games every year, but I do think that at least every team will have one upset or one game that they absolutely should not lose. So
yeah,
I don't know. I just threw them in there, but
okay.
So Tim had, let's see, he also had the Buccaneers at 12-5. He had the Saints at a very generous 11-6.
Wow, very high. Wow,
Kamara and the line train, but
oh my god.
Panthers at 8-9, and Falcons at a 4-13. So,
ooh, yikes.
So I start off the South. Oh, you get to crack the NFC East. Who do you have winning that division?
So I gotta tell you, this ended up being. I was shocked by this one. I'm not gonna lie. I thought before I started this that there was going to be one division winner, and that team actually did not win. I'll tell you in a second, but very surprised with this. But I have the Dallas Cowboys winning the NFC East.
Okay.
At 11-6. I think that their offense is going to be top 5. I think they're going to be really, really strong. It doesn't help that Zach Martin's now out with COVID.
Yeah.
but they were going to lose against the Bucs anyway. So I guess if you're going to have COVID, I guess this is the game to have it. I think their offense is going to be fantastic. I think Micah Parsons is going to have a really, really strong year. I was not happy when I saw him go to Dallas. I don't want to have to play him twice a year. I think they have I think the NFC East as a whole has a very winnable non-conference schedule, and that played a lot into this. And that played a lot into my next pick at number 2 in the division with the Eagles I know this is what everybody's waiting for. I get the Eagles at 10-7. I know we're talking double-digit wins. I can't believe it. At the end of the year, if you were to say this to me, I would be like, you are on crystal meth. There is no way the Eagles are going to be a double-digit win team. But when you break down their schedule,
it's very winnable.
Yes, they have some obvious, well, I consider them obvious losses. You have some pipe dreams. But yes, you got to play Tampa Bay, and you got to play Kansas City, and you're probably going to get your titties smacked. But they also have some very winnable games. Mm-hmm. And when I broke it down, I mean, that's the way it is. They have, I do agree with your thing with Denver. They have a lot of quality at many positions. The question is the quarterback. I get that. I have faith. I don't expect him to come out and be a Pro Bowl quarterback, but I think he can do enough. And I think what's really interesting is people don't really think about anything past right now because that's how sports are. It's so immediate. If you look at how many young offensive skill position players they have, if you look at some of the leaders they have on that defense, the fact that you have a guaranteed 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks, possibly 3 first-rounders and a second-rounder next year, and about to be $65 million in cap space, they could really make a big turnaround. And I think this team has a lot to prove this year. I think they're going to be hungry. You got guys like Quez. Miles Sanders is now, last year, we came into the year, everybody was pumping up Miles Sanders. I saw some fantasy drafts. He was going the end of the first round.
Yep.
People were all up on him. Now there's a bunch of questions. They bring in Kenneth Gainwell. What's going on there? The Ertz situation. What's going to happen with Goddard? Is he going to get tight end 1 money? Is he actually the tight end 1? Is Lane Johnson and Brandon Brooks going to stay healthy? Yeah. What's this, this rugby player playing left tackle? There's so many questions on the team. I'm not going to say that there's not. But the more I went through it, the less I felt like they were a 4 or 5 win team. And that schedule gives them a path to 10 wins. Now, could they finish, 7-10? Sure. But I think if they play the way I expect them to, and when I broke it down, they were 8-1 against losing teams. They played a lot of their schedule plays a lot of teams that I have with a losing record.
Yep.
But I digress. Third place, I had the team who I thought was going to win the division before I did this. But I just when I went through it, just didn't happen. I got Washington coming in third at 9-8.
Okay.
Still a winning record. I think they have arguably the top defensive line in the NFL. I love Scary Terry. I really like Antonio Gibson. Obviously, major questions with the quarterback situation, what they're going to do there and where the future is there. But the defense is strong. I think, an above 500 season is still a good season. It just happened to be that some other teams squeaked out a couple more wins than them.
Yeah.
And then I got New York's other dog pile, the New York Giants. They've been so bad for years. I don't think this Kenny Golladay signing is any sort of, savior to this team. I think it's another time where New York is all New York teams. Doesn't matter the sport, football, baseball, basketball. They overpay to bring in names to get the market excited. That's what they do. Every single team they have. I'm a Yankees fan. Trust me. I've seen it over and over and over again. They give big money to a guy to sell you on this, that he's going to be the savior or this, or they're going to do this. I don't think Daniel Jones is an NFL quarterback. I don't. He's done nothing to show me that he's an NFL quarterback. I think he's terrible. I think that him and Jared Goff to me are 2 years away from not being backups, but from being out of the NFL because nobody really wants to keep them around. And I hate to play this card. I think that if they stay around it's because they're white quarterbacks. I think that they'll get some sort of, oh, they're intelligent. They know this because it's always the white quarterbacks who are intelligent. I think they'll get some sort of that BS that gives them another contract.
Yeah.
But I don't like them. The defense, I'm not high on. I was waiting for this wide receiver group to break out for years.
Yeah.
Darius Slate. It was always the year Sterling Shepard was supposed to become legit, supposed to become 1,000-yard receiver. Darius Slayton shows some promise. I think Evan Ingram has the worst hands of a guy who's supposed to be this, catching tight end. He has terrible hands.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got them at 2-15. And those 2 wins are like pity wins for me, honestly.
Interesting. Yeah. So this division, how it played out really hurts me. So I had the Cowboys winning the division at 10-7. I had them going 4-2 in the division, and as an Eagles fan, I can't believe I did this, but I had they play the last week of the season, and I had the Cowboys beating them to win the division in Philadelphia. Yeah, not too pleased that, but I made plenty of wild picks throughout this, so I had to kind of keep that trend going. So obviously I hope it's the reverse, but so yeah, they came in second at 10-7, and then I was in the same boat with you with Washington. They have finished 9-7-1. Like I said, I had them tie Denver earlier in the week in the season.
Okay.
They're a team that's obviously phenomenal defense. I think they have the makings of a really, good offense, but I like Ryan Fitzpatrick, but like his thing is like he'll give you 3 really good games and then he'll give you 3 really bad games. So like,
yeah,
and he's getting older and older. So how much of that good Ryan Fitzpatrick is Washington actually going to get? And if he's not good, does Heineke have to step in? Is he going to play well? So I feel like they still have a little bit of a question mark at quarterback, but I think they'll still finish positive. I think they still have the makings.
Yeah.
Because that's what I as an Eagles fan, you obviously root for your team, but I liked my favorite time watching football is when the NFC East is really competitive because it just makes it more fun. I don't like seeing all these other teams just be abysmal. I like when they're all competitive. And that being said, I do have a little higher expectations in the Giants. Not too higher, but 6-11. Ooh, I think
that's not a terrible season.
No, I don't think they're terrible. I think if Saquon stays healthy, he'll be a factor. I think, like you said, they probably have one of the most disappointing skill set of wide receivers I've ever seen, where Sterling Shepard is the model of inconsistency. You would have hoped some of them would have stepped up with OBJ leaving, but none of them have done that yet. They're just hard to see. I do think their defense is on the up, but I think they're missing a couple more pieces, but I like what they have going right now. They have, a pretty good option at cornerback. I really like their D tackles. Linebackers could use some work, but we'll see. But yeah, that having the Eagles lose the last game of the season to lose the title for the East is kind of hurt, but that's just kind of how the season unfolded. Tim has a very surprising Washington winning at 12-5.
Wow. Okay.
Pretty strong. Eagles at 10-7 coming in second. So we're all on that 10-7 train.
10-7. Wow.
Which I think is crazy. I think 7-10, between 7-10 and 10-7 is their range. I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, I think that's more fair.
And then Dallas, I guess he's not feeling it. He hates Dallas though. So, I hate Dallas too, but I can be realistic. He has Dallas in third at 7-10. I guess their defense is still a huge question mark. They got rid of a lot of the poor players, and then they replace them with young players. So that doesn't mean it's going to be an upgrade. They got to see how those players transition. And then the Giants, he also had it 6-11, so that's interesting. But we'll see.
It's just hard when you think about teams just like I said, the Falcons last year lost so many games that are just, it's ridiculous to lose that many games in the fourth quarter as they did in such crazy ways, onside kicks, bunch of really weird ways.
Yeah.
The Eagles had just about every possible destructive thing happen to them in one season, and won 4 games. So it's hard for me to imagine with another game in the season and, a fraction of that amount of stuff happening that they don't have a significantly better season.
Yeah. I mean, I've been trying to explain this to people who just want to shit on them. And granted, I am an Eagles fan, so I will be biased, but I truly look at this roster and think that it's got the makings of a good team. I'm not saying they're going to go out and win the Super Bowl, but I think they could definitely compete for a wild card spot. I think if they stay healthy, which has been very hard for them to do, but if they stay mostly healthy, you have a top 10 offensive line, you have a top 10 defense, you have a solid group of running backs, you have upgrades at linebacker, upgrades in the secondary, you have 4 veteran starters that are all very reliable in Slay, Nelson. Anthony Harris was once a top safety a couple years ago.
He led the league in interceptions 2 years ago.
Yeah, and then McLeod's been a consistently good safety. Nothing flashy, but he's a good safety. And that D line, like I said, is still nasty. So yeah, the only question mark is Jalen Hurts, and I think he'll take this team this team will go as far as Jalen Hurts is not willing to progress, but as far as he can progress. So if he's dog shit and he sucks, which I don't think is going to happen, but if he just can't put it together and you have Joe Flacco or Gardner Minshew playing, sure, I could see 4 or 3 wins, but I think he's got the leadership down. He's got the off the field stuff down. He just needs to put it all together on the field. So we'll see. It'll be interesting to see. We still really don't know how this offense is going to run. Is it going to be a really run heavy? Is it going to be a play action heavy? Is it going to be a lot of screens, a lot of deep balls? Nobody has a clue. So it'll be interesting. And then our last division, the NFC West. So I'm very high on the Rams this year. I have them going 12-5, winning the division. Second place, I have Seattle, who, as long as Russell Wilson has been the starter on that team, he will help get this team to at least 10 wins. So I'll stick to that. 11-6 for them. Cardinals, I have it probably not the season they want, but they still do just enough. 10-7 on the year. And then this is my strongest division. I have the Niners finishing in last place at 10-7. So
wow.
Yeah, very competitive division. I think the Niners is just the QB situation is a little too fluid for my liking. I've never really liked Garoppolo. I don't know what, Lance is going to look like. So, and that defense is still trying to mend itself. They had a lot of players out with injury. They're not going to be able to just immediately jump back in and be that elite defense they once were. I think it'll take a little bit of time, and I think that'll impact their season. So yeah.
I'm very high on the NFC West. I think this division is unfairly strong.
Yeah.
I think that if you put any of these teams in any other division in the NFC, they'd be fighting for a top 2 spot. They're just all that strong. But I'm also very high on the LA Rams, very, very high. If you look across all my fantasy teams, you'll see a lot of representatives of the Los Angeles Rams. But I have the Los Angeles Rams winning the division at 14-3.
Every time I think I'm the one going out of left field.
No, I'm just when I take a look at what Jared Goff was able to do with this team and how much of an upgrade they're getting at quarterback. Sean McVay has been waiting for a quarterback like him. You look at that offense with Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp. I think Higbee is ready for a big step forward. I know Cam Akers went down, but Darrell Henderson's numbers were better than his last year.
Yep.
Every metric in rushing, Darrell Henderson's was better.
And
However,
you know how,
yeah, now they're Sony Michelle, but you know how it is when teams draft a running back high, they got to force feed them. So that's just
true.
the way it was. They didn't invest a lot in Darrell, but they did invest a lot there, so they had to go that way. And that defense is 2 of the top 5 defensive players in all of football,
which is insane.
Any play, any moment, Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey can completely change a game.
Yep.
And I remember when they gave up all those first round picks for Jalen Ramsey, and the Rams didn't have a first round pick for like 6 or 7 years. And I'm like, they're going to be playing with like 10 guys on defense for all this money they're giving these. And I'm like, you know what? It works.
Yeah.
Like they're so good that, you have one guy who completely takes away one side of the field. You got a defensive lineman who eats up a double team every single play, if not a triple team. And even still sometimes gets through that and makes a sack or gets a QB pressure. I'm very, 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 very high on the Rams. My second and third team had the same record, but head-to-head had San Francisco come in second. Very high on both of these teams. We got San Fran at 13-4.
Wow.
Yeah, I think, and the non-conference schedule for this division is very soft.
It is.
The non-conference. Honestly, a lot of their losses for these teams are to each other.
I had San Fran going 1-5 in mine. It's like, so they lost. They won 9 games outside of their division. Like that's nuts.
Yeah. Like outside of their division, their games are pretty soft. San Fran, I think there's gonna feel like that QB controversy because Trey Lance is the new toy they just got, and while I'm not like the biggest lover of Jimmy Garoppolo, I think he's a game manager. They got a lot of good receivers. I like Ayuk. I like Deebo Samuel. Yeah. We all know how much of a beast George Kittle is. Raheem Mostert will start the season at back, but I think Trey Sermon's going to sneak in there towards the latter half of the year. And they got a lot of good defensive players. They got a lot of guys who can make some. That defensive line, again, arguably top defensive line in the NFL. And I like Shanahan. I think that team. I like what Lynch has done with the roster. Really love that. Seattle. Can I do 13-4? Same sort of thing.
Okay.
The only thing is, it came down to just the tiebreaker with San Fran. Love Russ. I think Russ has a big year. I think especially after his off season.
Yeah,
he's gonna really try to come back
all out.
But the combination of that duo of DK and Tyler Lockett is just deadly. And Chris Carson, I think, always never gets the amount of love that he deserves. Guy's been.
Just gotta hold on the ball.
He's got fumbling issues. Don't get me wrong, but Miles Sanders also drops the ball all the time, and for some reason that doesn't get talked about as much. But I think that team can really, really make a move. And then in fourth, again, if they were in any other division, they'd finish much better than this. But I got Arizona coming fourth at 7-10. I just don't see them competing in this division. There's too many talented teams. It's a big year. It's a big year for Kyler. What step does it take?
I was gonna say 7-10. So do you have? Does Kingsbury hold on to his job, or does he get the axe?
It's a good question. I think that somebody's going to have to pay for it. I just don't know who is going to do it. I think he's got a warm seat. They brought in a lot of new guys. They got a lot of veterans to come in. Yeah. JJ Watt, AJ Green, a lot of guys sort of at that tail end of the career, just trying to, win. But I just don't think it's enough.
Fair. Tim, his is like flipped for mine. He's got Niners at 13-4 winning the division. Then he has Cardinals also at 13-4. I'm not that optimistic on them, but And they do. They are kind of going like an all-in approach, like bringing. I mean, they brought in AJ Green, they brought in JJ Watt, a bunch of other, veterans to kind of help balance this team out a little bit more. So we'll see, but I don't know. Is Rams at a 9-8, and then Seahawks at 7-10. So definitely an interesting.
Wow.
I don't know what
7
his
and
thought
10.
process was behind all this, but it's definitely interesting. But yeah. So that's our all the divisions wrapped up. So going into the wild card, let me pull that up. So mine is I have the AFC. I have Ravens versus the Titans. So Ravens are the wild card. The 5th seed against the number 4 seed Titans. Then I have the 6th seed Patriots versus the 3 seed Browns. Then I have the Chargers took the 7th spot against the number 2 seed Buffalo Bills. In the NFC, I had the number 5 seed Seahawks versus the number 4 seed Cowboys. The number 6 seed Eagles versus the former Super Bowl champion, number 3 seed Tampa Bay Bucks. Oh, they were the 3 seed in mine. Interesting. And then I had number 7 seed Cardinals just making the playoffs against the number 2 seed LA Rams. So I'm going to guess the Rams just had a better NFC record than the Bucks. And I also had the Rams beat the Bucks head-to-head, and they had the same record, so that would make sense. So who you got?
So I have Baltimore as the wild card playing Buffalo, the 4 seed. I got Indy as the wild card playing Tennessee as a 3 seed.
Oh, division matchup.
And then I got New England getting the last wild card at number 7 playing Cleveland, the 2 seed. In the NFC, I got San Fran at the wild card, number 5 playing number 4 Dallas. I got number 6 Seattle versus number 3 Green Bay.
Okay.
And then number 7 in the last wild card spot, I have the Eagles going up against the LA Rams with the 2 seed.
Boy. Going off of that, who did you have advancing from the wild card round?
So I had Tennessee winning, and they get matched up against Cleveland.
Okay.
And then I have Buffalo advancing and taking on Kansas City. NFC, I got Green Bay advancing, playing the Rams.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got San Fran advancing and playing Tampa Bay.
Okay. In the AFC, I had Baltimore beating Tennessee. They'll play the number 1 Chiefs in the divisional. And then I had Buffalo beating the Chargers and the Browns beating the Patriots. So Browns versus Bills. Then the NFC, I had the Rams beating the Cardinals. And I had the Buccaneers beating the Eagles. No shockers here. So those two will play each other. And then I had Seattle beating Dallas. And then Seattle would play the number 1 seed Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Then for my divisional AFC, then I have the Chiefs beating the Ravens. And this one, I went on a little flip of the coin. I got the Browns beating the Bills to get to the AFC Championship against the Chiefs.
Okay.
And then in the NFC side, Buccaneers over Rams, and then the Packers over the Seahawks. So my championships are Packers versus Bucks and the Browns versus the Chiefs.
Okay.
What you got?
And I got Cleveland beating Tennessee and Kansas City beating Buffalo. So I got a Cleveland KC AFC Championship.
Nice.
And then I got the Rams beating Green Bay in the divisional and Tampa Bay beating San Fran in the divisional for a Rams Tampa Bay NFC Championship. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's the NFC Championship game, I am going to be so stoked to watch that because I think that matchup would be, especially for a win to go into the Super Bowl. Whew, wow, that would be a game.
Yeah, I mean we almost had the same. Besides, you flip the Packers and the Rams, we had pretty much the same rankings up till here. So that's interesting to look at. Yeah, it's like you said, it's just so weird to be optimistic about Cleveland, but like they probably have the best roster in the league. Like they're good.
Yeah.
So they just need to put it all together. So who do you have going to the Super Bowl then?
Super Bowl, I got Kansas City and Tampa Bay running this Super Bowl matchup. The GOAT versus, as he was dubbed last year, the baby goat.
Love it. Mine is exactly the same. I have the Chiefs beating the Browns and Tampa beating Green Bay for a rematch of OG GOAT versus baby goat. Who do you have winning? Because that's where I'm curious.
So this was tough. I went back and forth a couple times. And I think I still came back to the team who I feel has a little bit more urgency to win is what I came back to. And I also have a very, very, very hard time picking against him in the playoffs. And I went with the unthinkable old man getting another ring, getting it fitted for a toe. Tom Terrific with another Super Bowl victory.
I had the Chiefs winning in the rematch. I just can't see Mahomes getting like doubled down like that. I don't know. If I'll say this much, if Tom wins again next year, I think that's it. I can't see him winning again 3 years in a row after that. I mean, I could, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
I think what's amazing about Brady too is it's so hard to repeat, but he's one of the few guys who's done it. And then when you look at his career, if you break it up into decades, his 2000s, so 2000 to 2010 and 2010 to 2020, he has two separate Hall of Fame careers. A 3 out of 4 season Super Bowl champion, a 3 out of 5 season Super Bowl champion. He's an MVP in both of those decades. He was a passing leader in both of those decades. And then in the 2020s, he has another ring. Like, it's so hard for me to pick against the guy.
Yeah.
And honestly, if it wasn't, I saw something where it was like, if it wasn't for Peyton and Eli Manning's mom, the guy might have 11 rings by now.
Yeah.
And it's incredible to watch. And just the overall, just the fact of them bringing back every single starter, like that is just unthinkable to me. I don't even know how you do that coming off a chip in this day and age. It just looks like he's having fun. Like,
yeah, he's off his leash.
He's such a different dude now, and just hearing him kind of seeing this late into his career.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be enough. I think it's going to be enough to fuel him. I think he's got that Michael Jordan, like he'll find a chip no matter what it is. I think he still wakes up every day and thinks about being the 199th pick. Like, even though he's the unquestioned GOAT, like there's no argument to be made for any other football player. I will second guess your intelligence if you try to make an argument another way at this point. He is so far superior, the best football player. So to me, and it's not a shot at Mahomes. I think Mahomes is fantastic. It's not a shot. I think there's such a disparity with the Chiefs defense and the Bucs defense. I think the difference in those two defenses to me is, I mean, I'm not even close.
I wouldn't say not even close, but I definitely would agree that the Bucs defense is superior. But I would also, on the flip side, say that the Chiefs offense is superior. I don't think I think the Bucs offense is closer to the Chiefs offense, whereas I can see where you're coming from, that the Chiefs defense is not nearly to that Buccaneers level, but I think the Chiefs defense doesn't get, a ton of credit. I think they're a very good unit. I wouldn't say they're top 5, but I think they're, top 10.
I think that the Chiefs offense is not as talented as the Bucs offense. They perform better. Look at the receivers. So you're going to tell me that Mecole Hardman is a better number 2 than Chris Godwin? You're like,
no. Okay, so I would say like talent wise, sure, but
Okay.
but like because even running back, I would say the Bucs have better options at running back. But
Correct.
I mean, offensive line, I'd probably also give the nod to the Buccaneers.
Okay, so then how are the Chiefs a better offense? Everything is labeled.
Yeah, no, because looking at beyond the actual players, there's also coaching and there's also what kind of offense they run. And the Chiefs are this, we're going to go pedal to the metal and, destroy you with Kelsey, Tyreek Hill blazing down the field. Like, I think Tyreek Hill and Kelsey are, I don't even know how to phrase this, but like those two alone are kind of better than the collective group that Tampa had. Like Mike Evans, great red zone guy, great touchdown guy, still doesn't really, he's top 12 receiver, but he just doesn't always do it for me. Godwin was in and out with injuries last year, good young player. And their tight ends are like, I mean, Gronk's really only good for like a couple touchdowns here and there now at his age. And I really liked OJ Howard. And I think Brate's a good, solid backup tight end too. But none of them I'm scared of. You know what I mean? Like I would be scared of Tyreek Hill. I would be scared of Kelsey. And I would give the nod to Andy Reid calling the plays over Bruce Arians. So
I agree that the Chiefs offense is more explosive. I think they have more home run threat, but I think the talent on the Bucs roster 1 through 11 is superior to the Chiefs. It's not as big of a gap as the defense is, but I think they have the edge on both sides. I think the Chiefs offense is a sexy offense because it's so big play. You see Tyreek Hill with an 80-yard touchdown. You see Patrick Mahomes with some no-look pass. Travis Kelce is an absolute animal. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Travis Kelce is. We're watching one of the best tight ends to ever play football. Like we got to see one of the greatest tight end runs you're ever going to witness.
True.
But I think that the Bucs offense gets overlooked because of the guy who throws the ball. They can spread it out. So, and Antonio Brown's number 3 receiver. And while he's not the old Antonio Brown, who was a top 3 receiver in this league, if you look at his stats from week 8 to the Super Bowl, he had the most targets on that team. And him and Tom Brady have an amazing, amazing chemistry. It's kind of like that Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson connection, where if you put them on different teams, they wouldn't be the same receiver at this stage. Sure. But their quarterback chemistry is unbelievable.
I get what you're saying, and I also agree that Tom Brady automatically elevates that offense. But I mean, if we were always just going off pure talent, like I would argue the Browns have a more talented offense on paper than both those teams. I mean, OBJ, Jarvis, Hooper, both running backs, offensive line better. Like I would, besides Baker, I would argue that they have better skill players than both those teams. But I don't think they're the best.
But the straw that stirs the drink, it has to be between Tampa Bay and Kansas City because you have the best quarterback in Mahomes and the GOAT. Like that's gonna hold more weight.
That's
like
what
just
I'm saying.
To give a better. Like,
when you compare, but I'm saying when you compare, like you saying that, Buccaneers are a better offense than the Chiefs on paper. It's like I could say a lot of teams are better on paper. It doesn't mean they're better teams.
I also don't love the Chiefs' offensive line. No, I mean you're bringing 2 completely new tackles. And did you? I mean, we saw the Super Bowl.
I saw the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Like did you see that game? Like it, and it's. I'm not.
I mean, but they're massive upgrades, though. I would say.
But I'm not saying I'm not saying I am out on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are one of the most explosive offenses I've ever got to watch. It's almost like watching like Oregon in college when they were like really just running up and down the field. But I just think as a complete team, I'm thinking like if I need a drive in the fourth quarter, I feel more confident giving the ball to Tampa and the Bucs. And now, if you're going to ask me like who can score and, I guess a big comeback or like down 21, you need multiple touchdowns. Sure. Like Kansas City has that explosion, but those offenses are very close. So I guess that's really where I'll kind of like meet you with here. Those two offenses are very close, whichever way you want to tilt.
Sure.
But the defenses to me are not close. They're not close units.
Okay. Fair enough. Trying to look as far as who you had making the playoffs versus who missed the playoffs compared to last year. Anyone stand out there? I mean, I know for me on the NFC side, I had Washington, the surprise Chicago, who I completely forgot even made the wild card last year. And New Orleans missed the NFC playoffs, but then I had Philly, Cowboys, and the Cardinals make it.
So I don't have that in front of me like who I had last year, but I will say from the NFC, I am shocked that I have two NFC East teams making it.
I did not plan it that way, but
like I have two NFC East teams and three NFC West teams.
Yeah,
like that's pretty crazy. And then the AFC in New Orleans, obviously is a big drop off. And Washington was the 8th seed, so they just narrowly missed. The AFC, I feel like is not surprising. I feel like if you ask most people, Kansas City, Cleveland, Tennessee, Buffalo, Baltimore, Indy, New England, like I think 80% of people will give you that combination. I don't think that is anything real shocking.
Yeah. I think of AFC, I had the Colts didn't make it, and the Steelers didn't make it, but the Chargers and Patriots did. So, my AFC divisional round was actually flipped from what it actually was last year. So, last year was Chiefs versus Browns and Bills versus Ravens. In mine, I have Chiefs versus Ravens, Bills versus Browns. So that was kind of interesting.
All right, I'm interested to know.
Okay.
Let's do the major awards.
Sure.
Who do you see winning MVP?
Well, part of my 14-2 Kansas City Chiefs coming back, getting their revenge against Tom Brady and winning the Super Bowl, I would lean towards Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP.
So I also have Mahomes winning the MVP, but I'm gonna put this in here.
Okay.
I think of the Mahomes, I think if the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, I think if the Chiefs next year are the Super Bowl champions, the MVP is Tom Brady. I think it's gonna flip. I think one quarterback's winning the MVP. I think one quarterback's winning the championship. I don't think either of them are doing both. I think it's next to almost never happens. Like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady did this a lot.
Yeah.
One of them would win the MVP, the other one would go to the Super Bowl. And I think the two of them are aligned to have the two best seasons. I think it's almost like if I see one of them win it, I'm going to feel more enticed the other team's going to win, honestly.
Yeah, I wanted to go with, well, I should preface, had Aaron Rodgers not won MVP last year, I think this whole, this is probably my last season, with Green Bay, that he would have gone on a, insane streak and won MVP, but he already did that last year. And I don't really see him winning back-to-back. Not to say he couldn't, because he definitely could, but I agree with you. I think Tom, as much as odd as it is for me to say, I do think Brady is still, even at his age, is still in consideration for an MVP. I'm waiting for him to drop off. It hasn't happened yet. I'm waiting for it, and I'm not rooting for him to suck because, but it's funny because some people I noticed on social media and stuff are just like, yeah, at this point I'm just hating on Brady because I'm fatigued of him and I'm tired of looking at him. He's been in the league for 20 years. Go away already.
Listen, I'll tell you, as a UConn women's basketball fan, I can't tell you how many people are so happy that they've lost consecutive Final Fours and all, and had these upsets. They're like, I'm so sick of seeing you guys, and you're just like, I'm sorry.
Be better.
I don't know what to tell you. Rookie of the year, I'll go. I had Trevor Lawrence. And I think it has a lot just to do with he's the only rookie quarterback who I expect is going to start all 17 games.
Mm-hmm.
I think, and I get Mac Jones, I guess, also probably will. But I don't think Mac Jones is going to be asked to do that much. I think Trevor Lawrence's weapons are going to allow him to put up some pretty good passing yard numbers. I think he's going to have a good amount of interceptions. And he's also great with his legs. Like, he's a fast quarterback. Like, he's tall and kind of runs like a deer, but the guy can move. This also will be his first regular season loss of his football career when he gets his first L. He never
can go undefeated. You never know.
No, he never lost a regular season football game in high school or college, which is absolutely unbelievable.
That is nice,
he never walked off the field in the regular season, had to watch film and be like, damn, we lost. I think his opportunity is there. I think he has that. What do you have for rookie of the year?
So I'm in a similar boat. I think Trevor Lawrence is definitely the favorite at this point, even though the season hasn't even started yet. I'm actually it depends on the success of this team, but I think Najee Harris could have a rookie of the year campaign if the Steelers, do solid.
Yeah, I agree.
And a lot of what you were kind of saying about Big Ben is like way past his prime. I'm sure he does not want to be dropping back and throwing 50 times. So if I was him, I would love to just hand off to Najee Harris all the time. So I think he'll get a lot of volume. And I could see him kind of run away with it. But I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but I would love to see Devontae Smith get into the, considerations, but
into the conversation.
I think what's going to happen with him is he'll start off a little slow as he's trying to get acquainted with, how to play these cornerbacks in the NFL and stuff. And I'm sure he'll take a couple big licks just to get him, familiarized with the league, but I'm not worried about him at all. So
my Devontae Smith take is I just don't think he's going to get enough volume. I think that the Eagles offense is going to be, it's going to spread the ball so much. Devontae might have a week where he's 2 touchdowns, and then he may only get 4 targets the next week. Yeah. And then they might go mostly tight ends, and then they might have a big Quez Watkins game, and then they might run the ball a lot the next week. Yeah. And then Jalen might have a big week. I just don't think Devontae is going to get the volume he's going to need. Versus Najee Harris, I agree, he's probably going to get 20 to 25 touches a game, and we all know these awards are tilted towards quarterbacks, and Trevor Lawrence is the guy, and he's got a lot of receivers and a lot of weapons. Mm-hmm. He's going to have a 4,000-yard passing season, and that just might be enough.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, even the year when Kyler Murray won, I thought, AJ Brown or Josh Jacobs was more deserving, but
I will tell you, I have a little bit of a spicy defensive player of the year.
Okay.
So I think this is finally the time where this guy gets a little bit upset that he's getting not universal disrespect, because a lot of people understand how good he is. Okay. But I think that this is finally the time, because I saw some people not give him the love that I think he deserves. And I know you're high on him. I know Tim's high on him. We're all high on him.
Okay.
I think he's seen a guy on his team win a lot of these awards.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey.
Damn it.
Has the year where he finally gets some love. I think he comes out. I'm seeing a couple pick sixes. I'm seeing like no receiver having more than 70 yards in a game. Just absolute torment. Like, a couple forced fumbles, just a cornerback season we haven't seen in a long time. I see that coming.
That was my pick too. So
really?
Yeah, I'm like you said, I'm very high. I love watching Jalen Ramsey. I'm very high. I think he's gonna ball out this year even more so, and just because he's been kind of quiet on the touchdown interceptions and stuff lately, but I think this year it'll just kind of spur, and he'll start getting those numbers back up. But yeah, I would pick him as number one, and then quietly I'm kind of if the Buccaneers again do really well this year, which I think they will, I could really see Devin White continuing to make another like a huge growth spurt. Because as long as the defense around him stays, mostly healthy, because this is what my argument was to Tim about having, his teammate a little higher than him, and God, now I'm blanking on his name, the other linebacker.
Levante David.
Levante David. Because Levante kind of he's the heart of that defense. He keeps the glue together, so to speak. And I think if he stays healthy, continues to be the leader of the defense, and their D line is still attacking the ball, and they have young guys in the secondary who continue to play well. I think Devin White's going to be allowed to run around and cause havoc. So I could see him having like a 15 sack, 3 interceptions for a linebacker, and just running all over the field. And so he would be my second place bet for defensive player as like a runner up, whatever. But
sure, that's fair.
Did you have a defensive rookie in mind?
I did. Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is the leader of this team. I think he's a big reason Dallas wins the division. Sure. He fell more in the draft than original. And I think a lot of that, it happens every year. There's always somebody who slides. But I think he's going to be an absolute animal. I mean, there's not really much to get into. I just think he's a dog.
I'm going to go out on the limb, and I don't know if this has happened before, but I'm going to have our defensive player of the year and the rookie both be cornerbacks. I think you're going to see a scenario where, and I don't know if he's starting right now, but I think you're going to see a scenario where Patrick Surtain is starting for Denver. And sure. I think kind of like what we were saying, like that defense is pretty built up right now. And I think their secondary is very quietly assembled itself as a very strong unit. So I think he's going to be allowed to really showcase his talents, and he's going to have a nice rookie season. So I'm leaning towards him. In the preseason. Yeah, I saw that. I'm leaning towards him winning defensive rookie of the year. So, nice. But I can see the Parsons thing.
I hope you're right.
We'll see.
Comeback's obvious. I mean, I'm going Dak. I mean, I feel like.
Oh yeah, I would go with Dak as well. I'm not going to go Carson. So.
Yeah.
Not that he deserves
it. God. You don't get comeback for just sucking. It's because you got.
I know. That's what I was saying.
And then coach. We'll do coach last. That's the last one I got. I got Kevin Stefanski.
Same.
I got Cleveland winning 14 games, winning the division, having a great season. It's going to take a lot of leadership at the top to make that happen. So I think Stefanski finds a way to win that one.
Just to be different than you, I'll switch it up because I was also going to go Stefanski, but I'll put it this way. I think whichever coach in the AFC comes in second place behind the Chiefs, or they could come in first between the Bills and the Browns. But I'm going to go Sean McDermott here. I think he deserved it last year. So I'll give it to him this year.
Okay. That's fair.
I think that wraps up all the awards. So who was your real quick looking, if you pick one team, who was your most underwhelming team or most declining team, and who was your biggest surprise on the rise? On the rise. You like that?
That was good. I told you New Orleans took a nosedive for me. I mean, they were a solid team last year. I think they're going to be terrible this year. That's my biggest turnaround of like absolute terrible. I don't know any team that like really has gone. I mean, I guess Cleveland at 14 wins would be big. The Rams at 14 wins would be really big. Mm-hmm. So I guess either of those teams having the season I'm expecting would be, I guess, kind of the biggest shoot up.
Yeah, I think I'm also in the same boat. I have the Saints with the biggest decline. I didn't like Jameis coming out of FSU. I didn't like Jameis on the Bucs. I still don't like Jameis. I mean, sure, he's gotten a little more mature. It looks like he's a little cleaner with the ball, but it does nothing really entices me with his game. So, I have them as the biggest declining team, and then honestly, the Eagles or San Fran rebounding off their injuries. I could see having a bounce back season. Just depends on quarterback play for both those teams. So those two, I would say, are in the runnings for bounce back seasons. Yeah, and then obviously New England too. So but any final thoughts on our season preview. We both have same Super Bowl. Tim, I didn't announce his. He also has Chiefs in the Super Bowl, but he has Chiefs versus Packers with the Chiefs winning.
Chiefs Packers. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, I guess the biggest thing is happy football's back.
Yes.
You know, like I think there's a lot of questions, and there is every single season, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, you know, a lot of players, a lot of teams. Well, I think the Buccaneers are fully vaccinated, the entire staff, all the players.
Yep.
So, I mean, I know there's still teams out there who, here and there, some players aren't, you know, getting it yet, but we'll see. I hope it doesn't, because I know the NFL is trying to be super strict on it. I hope it doesn't turn out to be, you know, a team loses or has to forfeit because of COVID, but
sure.
We'll see how the season unfolds. But yeah, I was saying to Tim last week, is like, the first time I hear Al Michaels speak, it's like, I know I'm back to my happy place. So, but I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Eagles for better or for worse. And another year of Tom Brady just dragging his huge nuts across the NFL field. So, but just, you know what, I will say in closing thoughts, it's a saving grace to know that as an Eagles fan, the thing that keeps him up at night still is Nick Foles beating him in the Super Bowl. Because I remember he said that not even the Eli Manning ones, it was Nick Foles one that he's most heard about. So
yeah,
which is a wild thing to look at, his legacy, when in like 40 years you look back like, oh, he was at these many Super Bowls and he lost to Nick Foles and Eli Manning. Okay.
Yep.
Who were those guys?
Yep.
So, all right. I think that pretty much wraps it up. Nick, thanks for coming on as always.
Appreciate it.
I think you had some nice picks. You're a little high on some teams, you know, as far as wins and such. Where I try to keep it a little more mellow.
I like to be aggressive. I like to, you know, I like to push for the teams who are going to ride some streaks. And there's a couple teams I'm really high on. There's a couple teams I feel like this is sort of what they've been building up to.
Sure.
Is this a breakout year?
I could see it. Yeah, it'll be fun. I just, you know, we'll see who's I want to see who races for the worst record in the league between the Jets, Texans, and probably the Lions. So.
Oh man.
Oh boy. All right. Until next time.
All right. I'll catch you.
All right. Peace out.